Welcome everybody to CougCenter.com's Google Hangout here. We haven't done one of these in quite a while. My name is Jeff Nusser. I'm one of the authors, editors at the site. And we are trying to figure out what we can do here now that the off season is fully upon us. For some of you, I know that the off season has been upon us since January, but for us, we do cover the basketball team. There is a basketball team, and we also do try to cover the baseball team. And now that is sort of wrapping up, we are heading into the sort of long, dark winter / summer of college sports coverage. And what that means for us is a few things. We're going to be able to maybe cover some different things that we maybe don't have time for when there's lots and lots of games. And one of the things we definitely are trying to get a little deeper into is taking a look at how recruiting is shaping up for Wazoo. And for that, we have invited in Britton Ransford from WazooWatch.com. That's the WSU affiliate of Rivals.com. Britton, how you doing?
Good. How you doing?
I'm awesome. And before we get started, we'll talk a little bit about how WSU is doing recruiting-wise, both in football and basketball. But I know when people get done listening to this, they're going to be like, wow, Britton really knows his stuff, which means they will want to go to your site and sign up for a subscription. Why don't you tell them a little bit about how they can do that? And I think you've got a bit of a special going on right now, don't you?
I do, yeah. So I guess we'll start with the special. That's kind of what everyone kind of wants. So right now we're doing like a Rivals 99. It's our best deal that we offer. So what you do is you sign up for an annual subscription. You get $99 in free Wazoo gear. So you basically get your money back in gear plus the content. And so if you head up to the upper left corner where it's kind of says Welcome CougCenter right there, that's where we'll be subscribed. There's also a banner there on the front page. And you enter in promo code Rivals99, and then you get $99 to the WSU shop, which has basically everything, golf gear, anything you need. And yeah, it's our best deal. It runs through the end of the month, so there's about 10 days left. But yeah, so that's what I got to offer.
That's actually a pretty amazing deal, because that means that you get to get your subscription and then get a bunch of free stuff.
Yeah, you get all the content, and then you get your money back in Cougar gear or whatever gear you want.
Cougar gear, of course.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, there you guys got to look at. So we tried to do, by the way, I'll go ahead and let you know this. If you're wondering why is this a video and why is this a a YouTube video but there's only audio? We were having a lot of issues getting the video to work. So we've decided to go audio only, but we are able to bring you some visuals through the screen share function here with the Google Hangouts. And so here you get a look at WazooWatch.com. And so what I'm going to pull up right now is WSU's current commitment list, so you can get a look at how this class is shaping up. And what you see here is something that you don't often see with WSU, which is number one, a number of pretty early commitments, and then number two, if I am not mistaken, Britton, there are exactly 3 guys on there rated 4 stars, which, if you're Alabama, you're kind of disappointed, but if you're Wazoo, you're kind of doing backflips at the moment.
Oh yeah, I mean, haven't seen that many stars on a commitment list this small, and basically ever. Their average star rating right now, if my math is correct, is about 3.6. So there's not many schools, and I think there's 2 schools in the Pac-12 that have a higher star rating. I think it's just UCLA and USC, and so maybe Oregon too. But yeah, it's a pretty unreal start to this recruiting cycle.
So I think, in a previous conversation we had, you mentioned that, this staff is recruiting is hard or harder than any staff you've seen or what you've seen in the last couple of years. What is it that these guys are doing differently? What is it that, maybe sort of describe what you mean by recruiting harder, because I think everybody assumes, well, isn't everybody recruiting hard? What are these guys doing different to get this start putting together this kind of class this early?
Yeah, so I passed out a statistic or a series of statistics the other day on Twitter, just kind of outlining how many offers the Pac-12 programs are throwing out right now and up to date right now. And WSU's thrown out, I believe it was 156. They sent out 7 more yesterday, and so that was number 2 in the Pac-12 behind Arizona State. And so what they're doing is, they're looking at a lot of film, they're evaluating a lot of players, and then sending those offers out. But what they're doing after they send that offer out is they're going out and they're actually seeing these guys, they're visiting them, they're getting to know them, and so a lot of times you'll see programs that they'll send out maybe 150, 200 offers, but they're only going to actually follow up on maybe 100 of them, the guys that maybe show interest, and so they're throwing it out to guys that maybe are kind of out of WSU's league because, I mean, Pullman's a hard place to recruit to, and then they're still showing up at school, they're showing they care, they're sharing what they have to offer, and I mean, they do have a lot more to offer now with the facilities, and they went to a bowl game, and so they're following up, and they're consistently just pushing the issue and saying, hey, we want you to be a part of this program, so kids are starting to notice, and I think in last classes, and even with this staff in the last couple of years, they would do that, but they didn't have as much to offer. And so this, I think you're finally seeing the first class that is really going to help turn around this program exponentially moving forward.
When you say they've got more to offer, are you really talking about, are you talking about facilities? Are you talking about, 2 years of proof that the program's moving in the right direction? Are we talking about, people, high school students who maybe don't remember much about Texas Tech, reacquainting themselves with exactly what they can do in an air raid? What exactly do you mean by that?
Well, you're starting to see, I mean, obviously the facilities, that they're going to be able to bring these kids up all year and actually walk them through them, whereas this spring they were able to bring some kids in. They had to put hard hats on and kind of walk through a skeleton building. So the facility is number one, and that kind of speaks for itself. But then they can also offer just like a pedigree of success. So they started out 3 wins, went up to 6, made a bowl game. A bowl game obviously didn't work out like they did, but they can say they went to a bowl game and they can show success on paper. It's really just they're able to show that, hey, this is a family up here, they're building something special, and they can say, hey, you're going to come up here and you're going to be a part of a program that is turning around like a decade of just awfulness, basically. So they do have a lot more to offer in that sense. So really that's kind of what they're trying to sell them on is, hey, come up here and turn this around, and we're going to take care of you with these facilities, and we're going to win football games.
Is that what when you talk to the kids and after they commit, and I know you're talking to other kids that have offers and haven't necessarily committed yet, is that the sort of stuff they are talking about with each other? Because recruits do talk to each other, right?
Oh, for sure. A lot of them. I mean, one of the staples when you're interviewing a guy is, hey, especially after a commitment, is, hey, is there any other guys you're looking at bringing up with you? Because nowadays, like, they're going to ask Tyler Helinski to, hey, this is your class now, go out and recruit. And so the kids do a lot of their recruiting within themselves, and but what they do talk about a lot is the family environment up there. And these coaches, they're all very personable, and they all kind of relate to the kids very well. They're not all I mean, you try to get the younger kind of generation in, but even the older guys on staff, they're relating with the kids better. It's a pretty special staff to kind of follow, and the family atmosphere that they have, they're building up there, is something that a lot of recruits are talking about.
So it seems like, I make fun of the concept of momentum a lot within a basketball game or a given football game, but it seems like that's actually a real thing when it comes to recruiting, where one kid sees another kid, and when a guy like Thomas Toki commits, and then and I think a lot of people were sort of, oh, is this another Bishop Sankey situation where the kid commits early and then is sort of fishing for more offers, and when a kid like that commits and is sticking, and then another 4-star commits, and then another, highly regarded kid commits, and then all of a sudden this can have a little bit of a snowball effect, can it not?
Oh man, it's pretty impressive how classes can build up quickly. I think the best example last year was Kentucky. Kentucky won like 2 games last year, and they ended up with like a top 15 class, top 10 class. And what happened was they started getting guys like a Toki and a Joyner and a Helinski, and then it started just creating a snowball effect. And so when you get that Toki commit, and then which helps out with the Joyner commit, and then the Helinski comes in, you're seeing other prospects are saying, hey, look at this class. Everyone's looking at the rivals and the scouting websites and looking at rankings, and they're all obsessed with stars. And so when you see a class getting built up there like that, they're going to wonder, hey, what is going on up there? And then it kind of creates a curiosity into the program. And so I think that's what you're seeing with Washington State right now, and I think it's going to continue.
So Helinski picked up another offer this week from Cal. And, so this is a guy that was, somewhat flying under the radar, even though Rivals obviously likes him, has him rated 4 stars. His only offers for some time were, Utah State, and WSU. Picked up the offer from Cal now. I mean, how are you feeling about how solid he is to WSU?
Um, I don't think he's 100%. I think he is pretty locked in. I'd put him more around like 85, 90%. I think the Cal offer does have an appeal to it. He was pretty big on Cal prior to picking up any offers. He went up to their camp a couple times, visited unofficially for a game, despite them having one win. I think he's intrigued because he has a good relationship with their coach, their QB coach Franklin. And so it's something to watch down the line. He talked to Adam Gorney. He's been pretty quiet about it since he picked up the offer, but he talked to Adam Gorney. He said Cal's a good school. He's appreciative of the offer. He'll keep him posted. So I think he's kind of locked in with Washington State, but it's something he's going to look at some point. I wouldn't be surprised if he visits or heads to a camp this summer, but I would say that he probably ends up at WSU, but I think the Cal offer is something to look for. They're really looking for a quarterback. They've struck out on quite a few, and so I'm not sure how him being down on their quarterback offer list will affect it, but it's something to look for, but I think he's going to stick with WSU.
Is he their top target right now for Cal?
What's that?
Is Helinski Cal's top target?
The Cal offer, yeah.
Yeah. And so we would imagine they're probably going to put on the full court press and try and get him to go, but the QB thing is kind of interesting in that, typically these guys commit pretty early, do they not?
Oh, they do, and it's probably the commit you want to secure first.
Yeah, and so, I mean, not that guys don't flip at quarterback, but it almost seems like they get in and then they're kind of locked in, both because of what you mentioned earlier about sort of being the leader of the class, and then also, only most guys don't want to go to a place where the coach is bringing in multiple quarterbacks, and so you would I mean, I don't know, maybe this is speculative, but it seems to me if a change was going to be made, he'd probably make it reasonably soon, or Cal would be moving on to another guy, and the only way that maybe this domino falls kind of weird is if Cal keeps striking out on other guys too.
Absolutely. I mean, most classes or most teams are going to take one quarterback, so that's why they want to get in there first. And so if there was a change, I think you'd see him decommit relatively soon. I think they're desperate for a quarterback right now. I think there's one guy out there, another guy they're looking at is Kyle Kearns, another 4-star guy rated in the top 12 or so. And so I wouldn't be surprised to see them send out a couple more offers this week, but they're definitely going to go after Helinski right now. And so I'm sure the coaches will be at Upland soon and try to figure that out. But I think it'll all work out. I think that there's other quarterbacks out there that I think what might keep Helinski from decommitting, not that he wants to go to Cal over Washington State, is Jared Goff is there, and he's started as a freshman. He threw for almost 5,000 yards, and so that's a spot where he might play for 4 years, and so there's a little less appeal there.
So one of the questions we got from one of the readers on Twitter was Patrick, Coug for life, and basically want to know is any predictions on who the next guy to commit might be?
I mean, it's so hard because they're in on so many guys. Like I said, they've offered about 165 guys right now, and they're in on a lot of them. And so I think one of the guys that it might be close without visiting, I mean, there's not many visits coming up, but there's a guy named Cedric Peterson out of California. He had WSU in his top 4. They're recruiting him as an athlete. He's listed as a wide receiver. He is, I think, 6'1". He's a 3-star. His top 4 is Arizona, Cal, Colorado, and WSU. So that's a guy to look for. Then there's another guy, Dylan Fa-Matu. He's a defensive lineman. WSU was his first offer this week. He's 6'4", 280, and he's already visited ASU, and then ASU offered the day after WSU offered. And so those are 2 guys I'm kind of looking at. Maybe an offensive lineman. It's tough to say. There's so many people out there prospects out there that are high on them, but there's so many offers that a lot of these kids are coming down to the kids they're in on are the kids that are going to wait it out until closer to signing day or once they can take visits, because I mean the higher rated kids that they're in on, that's typically what they do.
So I know and we can get a look at Cedric Peterson there. I think that the last time WSU seemed to be in on a lot of highly regarded guys was during the Bill Doba regime, and we ended up obviously striking out on virtually all those guys. Most famously Jonathan Stewart, getting Wazoo into his last two, and then picking Oregon, and honestly, it seemed to be sort of all downhill from there. Is there reason to think that maybe this staff is? I mean, maybe the question's already been answered by the fact that they've gotten some of these kids to commit, but is there a tiny little bit of fear that these guys, as Doba put it, are maybe a little too big for their britches right now and aiming too high, or can this staff really, you think, follow through and pull this thing together?
I think they'll be close. I think they're still another year away from actually another year and maybe a 7-win bowl season away from being able to actually be down to those final hat ceremonies, But I think that they might steal a couple. There's a guy, Marvell Tell, at Crespi, California, who's a 4-star, number 5 safety in the country, and he has continually said for the last, 3 months since he took a visit up to WSU for the Junior Day event, he said consistently that WSU is going to be in it. And I think as of 2 days ago, he said that WSU and UCLA and USC are kind of the 3 schools out front for him right now. And so that's something you really haven't seen in a long time. So they might strike out with them, but I think it's still going to spread some news around me that, hey, look at this guy, this number 5 receiver, one of the safety in the country, is looking at this school. Why is he looking at it? It creates that momentum. It creates that curiosity. And so that's really what they're getting. If they can get some of these kids up to campus, it just increases their odds of landing them by a lot, just because that's the biggest struggle in recruiting to Pullman, is getting them up there to see campus. And so they're actually doing that. They're getting kids to pay their way up there, and that's something else that you haven't seen in a long time.
Yeah, that's impressive. So James Williams, I want to talk about him for just a minute, and then we'll move on to some basketball recruiting. So this is a running back that they landed a commitment from recently. I love it, and I don't. This doesn't often happen to me, but as I was watching his video, man, I'm falling in love with this kid. Tell me that he's as good as I think he is.
I think he is. I read your write-up on him, and I agree with it 100%. I think he's a really good prospect. He's just got rated today a 3-star. He was non-rated before because he hasn't really been to many camps, and so no one's really had a chance to look at him. He might even be ranked higher if he was out there looking, or out there in camps participating, because that's kind of how recruiting goes nowadays. You got to see them to get the stars. But there's like a little cheater. Our rankings come out tomorrow, but there's a little cheater on the front page. He got ranked the 43rd running back in the class, or he will be tomorrow. He's a speedy guy. He's also kind of explosive up the middle. Who did you compare him to?
Yeah, I compared him to this little-known guy named Bishop Sankey.
Yeah, and so honestly, that was kind of one of the guys I was kind of looking at kind of similarly, but I think he's a really good prospect. Once he gets out there and once you see his senior film, I think he's going to kind of blow up this year. He's got a really cool backstory, too. I think you guys shared that as well. Kind of came out of a really bad part of Cleveland, I believe, and then moved down to Southern California, was homeless for a while, and so it's a really cool story. He's a really good kid. Talking to him, I think he's a really good prospect.
All right, well, let's move on to some basketball talk. I'll go over here to the basketball commitment list. Obviously, whenever there's a coaching change, things tend to get a little crazy, and it seems that's what's going on right now. So just to recap for people really quick, Tremaine Isabel from Garfield was sort of the jewel of Ken Bone's class, and really the one of 2 guys in that class. And he has since been released from his letter by Ernie Kent, presumably because he was able to sign a couple of other guards that he felt more comfortable with. One was Jackie Davis Jr., who is kind of a combo guard, and then Nye Redding from good old West Wind Prep down there in Arizona, which we are familiar with Q Johnson, and then another Ken Bone commit that never made it in Richard Peters. And then a big man in Aaron Cheatham, who's a junior college kid who seems to be sort of a kind of an all-around type player who can do a number of things. There are a couple of scholarships still open. Tell tell us what Ernie Kent is kind of doing on the trail right now. I know there was you reported a couple days ago or yesterday there was an offer out and then there wasn't, and maybe bring people up to speed a little bit on exactly what Ernie Kent seems to be doing out there.
Yeah, so back to that offer yesterday, it was kind of a funky situation. Victor Sanders out of Portland, he went to Jefferson, which is kind of a powerhouse up here. He reported that he had an offer. I called him. He said, yes, I got an offer. I'm planning on visiting this week. Calls back about an hour later, says he is no longer visiting. The staff pulled his offer and canceled his visit because they were going after a big. So I don't know who the big is. I'm not sure what's going on. It's kind of a weird situation, so I'm not sure what the exact situation is there. But they have 2 scholarships left. Ahmad Rory, Tacoma guard, probably one of the best prospects left out in the country, is deciding tomorrow between Washington State, Oregon, and Washington. It's tough to tell. I would say he's probably not leaning towards Washington or Washington State. Probably going more the Washington direction. He's got a lot of friends on the team. But he does have the connection with Devontae Lacey, being a Tacoma kid. They're buddies, but Lacey's only going to be there for a year, so it's kind of we'll find out tomorrow. And then Brandon Chalka, he's a guy from the East Coast. He played his early high school career at Virginia. Then he went down to South Carolina to play. You're just a tiny point guard who can stroke from outside. He can actually get in the lane, create a little bit. I think he'd be an intriguing ad. He visited California yesterday. He was expected to make a decision today, but that doesn't look like it's going to happen. But other than that, I mean, it's been pretty quiet. There's not a lot left out there, especially with the bigs. Can't really. I just don't know where they're going to go with it. They obviously want to add another guard, and then I think they would like to add a big, but I just don't know if it's out there.
It doesn't surprise me that if the one kid said his offer was pulled in favor of a big, if they feel like they've got any chance at all to land any big that could make a difference, I'm sure they feel like they have to go after him. And make that scholarship available to him. And it sounds like you have no idea who that guy might be.
Zero. I mean, it's been really quiet. I'm not sure anyone knows. There's just really nothing out there unless it's a super under the radar guy. I can't even name off the top of my head a viable big man that has a D1 offer that's available right now. And so it might be a JUCO guy. It might be just a flyer on some other guy. There's a guy named Fatai Eek, who's out of California. I'm not even sure he has an offer, but he was a guy, or I think Ken Bone offered him. So that's a guy that I've been looking at, trying to get a hold of, but it's been quiet on that front too. So really, it might just come down to an email and a press release, and that's who they got. So I don't have much to offer on the basketball front other than they're looking at these 2 guards, and I'm sure they're hoping to land both of them.
How wide have they cast their net? I mean, are they looking outside the country? Are they looking at potentially, graduate transfers, along the lines of, Royce Woolridge, who's transferring with immediate eligibility to Grand Canyon? Or are they focusing on a specific part of the country?
They're obviously going all over the country. They're literally just trying to find some talent, and they've brought some in already. I think the 3 guys they have already are decent prospects, and prospects that I'm not even sure you would expect the last staff to bring in. So they're going all the way out to the East Coast, obviously. I haven't heard much going overseas. I'm not sure they had the time right now to go overseas and find a guy, convince him to move over to the United States and to a school he probably hasn't visited yet within 3-4 weeks of recruiting him. So I think that this staff will end up doing that at some point. But right now, I think they're going out all over the country, and there's some Midwest ties back there with Gibson, and so it'll be interesting to see how it turns out. And right now, today was the signing period, but kids don't have to sign their financial or their national letter of intent today. They can sign a financial aid agreement starting tomorrow, and that basically says the school is bound to give that kid a scholarship. But the weird part of the rule is the prospect isn't bound to the school, so he's still a recruitable athlete. And so up until he enrolls in school, he can go visit other schools. The recruiting, basically the financial aid agreement just cancels the recruiting rules, so you can make calls to him and yeah, it's kind of a funky situation. He can actually sign multiple financial aid agreements to different schools and then pick one maybe a day before school starts. So it's kind of a funky situation.
Yeah, I've kind of never really understood why any reasonably sought after recruit actually signs a letter of intent instead
Yeah,
of a financial aid agreement,
John
but
Wall.
that's yeah, that's neither here nor there, I guess. So okay, so it looks like you feel like Rory's probably going elsewhere.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, any other guards that they, because I'm of the opinion that they just need to stockpile talent. You mentioned Chauka, he's a guy at 5'9" that makes me kind of go
yeah.
because he's short, but maybe you know a little more about his game than just his height.
If you look at his film, he's got an exciting film. I mean, his senior tape just got released late last week, and I mean, he can stroke from anywhere on the floor. Tawan Porter kind of brings me to mind as an Ernie Kent guy, just
Oh
a short
God.
guy that can kind of get in the lane, and he can create plays. He's exciting, explosive, really good handles. And he can literally hit a shot from anywhere on the court. Finding those shots and getting it over bigger guys in the Pac-12 might be a problem, but I think he'd be an instant fan favorite, and it'd be fun to see him. I think it'd be a good pickup. But another guy down in California, the only other guard I can think of that they might be in on is Devin Watson. He's a guy at Oceanside. I think Cal's looking at him too, and so it might be a backup plan for both schools if they don't land Chalka.
Is there any chance that they just, sort of, I don't want to say eat these two scholarships. That's not the right word, but you know what I mean. Is there any chance they don't hand them out if they can't get a right fit, or are they gonna give them to someone just to get a couple more warm bodies in there?
I think we've talked about it before. I think that they could eat one. I think Kent really wants to get 5 guys in this class, and I think he's got 4 more next class, and so that immediately puts him at basically his own team in 2 years. And so I think he really, really wants to find a couple capable players in this class. I think he will. I think in his last press release when he said that when he announced that Tremaine was released, he basically said that we're excited about the guys that he's bringing into this program or will bring into this program. So I think he's going to do his best, and they have time. There's definitely time to find a couple players. Who those are and how good they are is kind of up for debate right now, but I think he's going to try to take a full load.
All right, well, I think that will pretty much do it for us. Britton Ransford, WazooWatch.com. Thanks a lot, and tell the people again in case, I don't know, somehow they picked it up in the middle, or maybe they forgot. Tell them again how they can subscribe and get the awesome deal you guys are offering right now.
Yeah, so if you just head to the front page of WazooWatch.com, which now I see my graphic, my amazing graphic that I made doesn't work for the War Room, but the $99 in free team gear. You sign up for an annual subscription, which is about $99. You get all the content on the site for free. Our War Room is pretty active, and there's a lot of good stuff in there. Use promo code Rivals99, and then you'll get $99 to the WSU shop or anywhere on Fanatics.com. They have yard gnomes. They have hammocks, they have everything. Anything WSU you want, they have it. So pretty good deal. Our best deal of the year. It runs through the 30th of this month, so take advantage if you would like to.
Well, it's a pretty awesome deal, and I can tell you from my perspective, Britton does an awesome job, and love the work that he does and respect the heck out of it in what can sometimes be a little bit of an unseemly business with the recruiting wars and covering recruiting. Britton does as good a job as anybody, and Britton, we're pretty happy that you decided to jump on with us. Thanks, man.
I really appreciate it. You guys have a good night.
All right.